watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 209, Creating a New Domino version 12 Domain. I'm back. Okay, so today we're going to talk about installing a brand new domain. Now, I've had a domain for 20 years, give or take, for my own personal use, for a lab environment, to play around with it, to do the show and stuff. So why are we making a new one? Well, there's two very important reasons. One is I wanted to show everyone how it's done, and two, at some point along the way, I lost the password to my CERT ID, which is basically the keys to the kingdom. And with that, while your domain will continue to work, you can't create new servers. And I want to play with the 14 beta server. And you can't create new users, which I don't need, but creating new servers is kind of important. So do not lose your CERT ID file or password. So this is a good time for a disclaimer. I am a developer. I am not an administrator. I know enough to be dangerous. I can solve problems and I can create problems with the best of them. So this is going to be an administration-based show. There might be a few more administration-based shows in the future if all goes well. But I barely know what I'm doing. And if I'm wrong, I expect no one's going to be shy in telling me that. So with that being said, is I have a home lab server running on a system called Unraid, and I want to do a show on Unraid, so I don't really want to get into that. But basically, it can host VMs. I've got a Windows 10 VM that I want to put a Domino server on, and when you're doing this and doing it on Domino, or maybe any server really, is you probably should disable any firewalls ahead of time. When I did this, I got some pop-ups because of some firewall stuff in there, so that might be something to just go ahead and disable before you install your Domino server. I'm also going to show, very simply, there's nothing very fancy here, installing the client, the Notes Designer and Admin client. That's going to be running on a different VM on my Mac, an M1 Mac running Parallels. And we're going to install that. So this show is all about installing a server and installing a client to talk to the server. And of course, we're going to be creating a CERT ID file and also a user ID file. But the CERT ID file is very important. Do not lose your password, or at some point you'll be doing what I am doing today, is rebuilding your Domino domain because you don't have access to your CERT ID. So with that being said, let's go to the demo.
Okay, so here we have the Domino version 12 installer. We're going to kick that off. There's no rocket science about this. We accept the terms and conditions. And we're going to just take the default programming path, or file path. Now there's a couple choices for servers. Typically you choose enterprise server. And then you click install and you are off to the races. And we will fast forward here to save some time. Okay, so once the first part of the installation is complete, then you're going to see up here, you're going to see a Domino server icon and a Domino console icon. So the server is just as if you're running it as an application, which is what I'm going to do here for now. The console is used for if you set it up to run as a service, which we'll probably do at some point. And then as it reboots and stuff, if the server needs a reboot, it will automatically start as a service, and then you can start and stop it as a Windows service. But this would be how you would get to the console. But for now, it's just a little easier to go to the Domino server. And we're going to say yes. Okay, so we're about to set up a new Domino server. And we're going to say next. Now, if we had an existing domain where you knew your security credentials of your CERT ID, the easiest thing would be to set up an additional server. But when you lose your security credentials of your CERT ID and you lose your keys of the kingdom, you have to rebuild from scratch. or so I'm told. So we're going to set up a first server or a standalone server, but it's going to be the first server in a new Domino domain we're going to build, and we're going to call this Yoda because that's how I like to roll. And we don't really need a title. We don't have an existing server ID. Now, I would say don't use spaces or anything like this, and name the server what you want. I like generic names. I don't like names like of a location or development necessarily or so, because sometimes servers move around, and you use them for a different purpose down the road than that you didn't intend. So I like just generic names, sometimes with a theme. When I was at a previous company, we named servers after football teams: the Philadelphia Eagles, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was Eagles, Steelers, or the Bears. And of course, Eagles was the best server of those three. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit next here. Organizational name, and I'm going to call this NotesIn9. And a typical user. So here's the thing. Once you put this password in, you do not want to lose this. So you got to keep this safe, even if it's 20 years down the road and you had a domain all that long and you want to keep using it and you lost your certifier password or you just forgot it. Now you have to do it all again. So do not lose this password. It has to be a minimum of 5 characters. I do believe there is a way to actually even do a double password down the road. Maybe not the cert ID. Maybe that's for the ID vault or so. But again, so you just want to make sure you keep this safe. So we're going to say next. So Domino Domain. All right. So I call the first. See, I'm a little iffy. I'm not an administrator on if I should use the same domain name as I used earlier. Here, I'll just do NI9 as a little abbreviation, and we'll just see what happens. It doesn't hugely matter for my purposes or so, but I want to have a different name just to see where those two show up. So we'll say next. Okay, so first name. So now you're making the administrator account. So this will be for me. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to do another little just minimum password for now, and we're going to save a local copy into the C drive. Now, it does automatically, I think, store in the Domino directory, so you might want to pull that out. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get to ID Vault. ID Vault is a system where it holds the IDs for you. And then as you sign in, it can query that vault and automatically download them. And I've never actually set that up yet, so hopefully we'll get to that. So this is all I need for now. So we'll hit next. Okay. Web browsers we want. I think the internet mail is kind of done, so we don't need that running, and I'm not going to be running directory services, so we'll turn that off. And if we look at customize here for other services, now you can go in the future and look at the notes.ini file itself, which will control this. But so let's see, we want obviously the agent manager. I don't think we need the calendar scheduling, so why have that run? We'll leave the mail on for now, just in case, and of course a replicator in case there's anything we want to play with down the road. I don't need rooms and resources. I don't know what change manager is. Yeah, I don't know what that is. So remote debug server. So this is all we really need right now. So HTTP and then the basics of replication, mail, agent. We'll leave the administration process on. And let's go with that. Again, I am not a real administrator, so we're making this up as I go along. So here, what this is you can customize your network settings here. Now, I will turn on encryption and compression because encryption is just good, even on a home network, I would think. The fully qualified name for this Domino server. This kind of will get into, I've just got a home little network or so I could give something in here. I'm going to leave this for now and might revisit that later. Oops, I guess I'm not going to leave that. Well, all right, well, let's do this. We'll do yoda.notesin9.com. And for me to use this, I would have to probably edit my hosts file on my Mac or my Windows machines to get to that, or something inside my local network. Again, this may not be right. I'm not a networking guy, but we'll give that a shot. So we're going to use TCP/IP, and let's move on. Okay, so these are good defaults. Prohibit anonymous access to all database and templates, and we're going to add local domain admins. These are very standard things that you want in your environment. And we do a quick review here, and then we can just say set up. Okay, setup's now complete. We hit finish. Now, what I like to do personally is I like to kick off the Domino server, get it up and see all the tasks go until it loads, and I'd like to shut it down and do it again. So let's do that. Because the first time through, it's going to build various things and stuff like that. So as we click, so now here's our choice. Do we want to run this as a Windows service or as a regular application? And then you can save it or so. So for the moment, I'm just going to run this as a regular application. But eventually, I'll be turning this into a Windows service. And here we can see the console starting for the first time. So HCL Domino 12.02. Okay, and this pops up, so we'll just say, I'm going to turn everything on here and just say allow, because I trust myself. Okay, the XP Command Manager. Oh, here's another pop-up. We'll say yes. Allow access. The XSP Command Manager, that's X pages. So you have JVM inside. You've got an HTTP server. You've got something specific for X pages. And this is the console. I don't know if they're supposed to, if I'm waiting for anything else. Okay, yeah, HTTP server started. So the server itself should be good to go. So if we do show tasks, which is a command, it'll show us the tasks that are running, database server tasks, what's idle, the router tasks, HTTP server, listening for connection on port 80. So we're going to immediately quit this, and then we're going to bring it up again, because that's just how I was kind of taught. And then we should be in good shape for this server. Okay, that has quit. So now let's just kick it off again. And we'll say yes. And okay. Again, I'm just keeping this as an application for the moment. So now this should probably kick off a little quicker. So there's our JVM and our HTTP server. Oops. And there's the XSP Command Manager, and then HTTP server started. So we are good to go here. So the next thing now to install is on your personal Windows desktop, wherever you want it to be. You want to have, the Notes client itself. You want to have the admin client. You want to have Designer. At least that's what I want. So now, what we need to get and make sure we have here is inside this PC. We need to get those IDs and keep them safe. And we'll need the admin ID. So, oops, is this the wrong one? I think it's program files, HCL, Domino, data. Now, here's an admin file. So I'm going to just pull this out for the moment. And okay. Let's put it over here. And we want to find the cert ID file. Cert ID file. And I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to say continue. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rename this admin file. I'm going to move it away from that little thing. And I'll make this leady, because I have an existing network that I don't want to get confused. I'm going to add a year. And the same thing here. Cert ID 2023. So this should be good to go. Okay, so now we want to install the Notes software. So this gives us Notes, Designer, and the Administrator client. And we need to unpack it. And I'll be skipping forward in a moment to save a little bit of time. But this is what it looks like when it gets started. Okay, and then here we go. When it's all said and done, welcome to the install wizard. So we'll click next and accept the license agreement. I'm going to keep the default directories, and then you say, what do you want to install? We want designer, we want administrator, and I like to also have the remote server setup installed. We don't need the default stuff here in this situation. And then off we go again. And some more fast forwarding to save some time. And we're finished. The software is now installed. Now we can click on the application to launch. The first time you'll have to go through a bit of a setup here. We'll give it by name and my Domino server. And we're going to want to be using the ID file that I have previously created and copied to my hard drive or to my desktop under the 2023 domain folder. We want a TCP/IP network, and I'm going to just give it the IP address for the server. This helps it out. There's nothing really to see in there. So we move on. And now, what ID file do we want to use? And this is what was created during the server setup for the admin account, which I've renamed to my name. And we'll copy it to the data directory and put in the password. And I'm not worried about defaults right now. And it's done. And it comes to the default welcome or discover page. I'm not sure what they call that. Most people look or use the workspace in my experience, which will be for next time.
And that's the demo. I hope you liked it. I know it's kind of simple, but you got to start somewhere. Here's my contact information, and I really want to highlight OpenNTF, which is our community hub, opentf.org. There's a lot of projects there. There's webinars. Like a month, they've been doing some kind of like roundtable stuff where you can come with problems on Discord, and they do have this a wonderful Discord server where a lot of people are hanging out, and there's a link to it. And here's a what's it called, a QR code that hopefully you can get to it. So I highly recommend you join the Discord server and be part of the community. And with that said, I thank you for your time.